are here tonight with Purulency.
Yeah, but for him it's just morning. I think so.
Oh yeah, so today,
Today.
I mean, today we are here with Purulency. So I really would like to thank you really for joining us. It's very important for us to have you, and I really would like to ask you, as I usually do, if you could start talking a little bit about your project and how this about how your project came was born, and how did you join, and how was the story?
Yeah, so it's kind of a long one in a weird way. It almost took a while to formulate into this band, but so the original songs were started in 2016 by our other guitarist Neil Williams. He kind of started working with this idea that he wanted to have a project that was grimy and kind of like a homage influenced by like those old school Finnish death metal demos, the classics, Convulse, Amorphous, um, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Yeah. But so he started kind of working with that, and he was coming off of another band that he had at the time called Manic Scum, which was a grindcore band. And so he slowly kind of started putting that stuff together, a little bit at a time. And then I met Neil in 2018. We were in a band called Blighted, which was a melodic death metal band. And so that's how I met him. We kind of crossed paths. And then we played for a couple years from 2018 to 2021. And then Blighted ended. And then so we're just kind of like, yeah, we tried to, get it back together. But there's a lot of things. I really enjoyed being in Blighted, and it was my first real band that I was in. But it was one of those things where it didn't come together kind of how me and him had envisioned it, and me and him kind of clicked about music anyways. And so not from an elitist standpoint, but very pure in the sense of sometimes how we think things should be. Now, I like all kinds of different kinds of music and different kinds of metal in general, but there's certain things that we just kind of agreed on that should be certain ways. And so we wanted like a true Swedish kind of sound. It just didn't really hit. And so we connected, we stayed friends. And in 2022, he hits me up. He tells me about, Purulency. Basically, he had told me about it before, but just kind of alluding to it like, hey, I want to do this one day. He had the logo and everything. At that point, he showed me some of the artwork that he had been given. And he approaches me and he's like, hey, you want to actually do this project? Like, let's make it happen. I was like, yeah. So we started jamming that summer, and with Alex DePew, who is our original drummer, and he was also the vocalist for Manic Scum, is somebody that he had known for a long time and kind of co-written the songs with a little bit. It was mainly Neil, but Alex was there kind of, steering along. And so they kind of jammed that stuff, I guess, for a long time leading up to it. We started playing, and then we played our first show, I guess, that fall. Um, and then we were able to play some shows, record the demo. Um, and then we kind of took a brief hiatus. We had some lineup changes that happened. And then we have the lineup that we have now, and I guess that's the full story. Kind of condensed a little bit, but condensed for sake of time. But yeah.
Yeah, but it seems very nice actually. It's,
Yeah, really.
and
Something a little bit more personal. So you start playing guitar, like playing death metal, or doing something else and arrive to do death metal?
Kind of weirdly enough, I've always played death metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started playing guitar when I was like 12 or 13, and I learned some of your like Creeping Death, Fade to Black, whatever, Alice in Chains, just right. But it's because I couldn't play Cannibal Corpse yet. so, so, but I picked up as fast as I could, and I've always wanted to play death metal personally. I can play other stuff. I like to dip my toes in other stuff, but it's always what I've wanted to play for sure.
Wow, that's amazing. And you you are self-taught guitarist, or you just went to lesson and you told to your teacher, no, I just want to do death metal and stop. I don't
um,
want any.
Yes, so I'm mainly self-taught.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years in, I did take lessons briefly, but it was kind of weird because I was mainly learning like theory and stuff. And I know you were joking, but that's more or less kind of what happened. I was like, oh, so what scales are they using in Necrophagus? And he's like, God, and so he's like, pull it up. He's like, I don't even know what this. He's like, I guess this is, harmonic minor, melodic minor. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go to lessons anymore. They're just like pulling up on Songster. Yeah.
I love that.
That's all I needed to know. I just needed to know what it was. I'm ready to go.
It's the only way, right? It's the easy
Yeah, yeah.
way.
So that was about the extent of lessons. I guess the one main thing I did learn from lessons that I still carry to this day that really helped a lot was proper like alternate picking. Jokes aside, that did really help me, making sure every stroke is different. It just made everything more fluid. Because back then, I would just like James Hetfield, like down pick everything as fast as possible, which I guess has its place. And I still find myself doing it sometimes to accent certain parts. But yeah, that's the main thing I guess I took away from lesson. Besides, figured out what scales that Mohammed Suchmez uses.
Okay. And also, what are your main influences as a guitarist?
Yeah.
As a guitarist, so for this project, like I said, in tune with the finished stuff, just that grimy kind of attitude, I guess, towards the guitar, especially tonally. You know, um, I would say though, personally, I know we just mentioned him. I mean, Muhammad from Necrophagus for sure was one of my first big influences on guitar. Brian Eschbach from the Black Dahlia Murder. Um, I always because he's not the most, and granted they have some crazy songs, but he's not the most technical player in the world. But he has a certain songwriting ability that I was able to latch myself onto very early on, and he's kind of just a great guitar mind, like behind the books. It's kind of like looking at it from like you've got a good sports team, but then you're just as good as the coach behind it. Tom Brady's great, but Bill Belichick is a different kind of mind with it, and so it's kind of like that with an instrument. I like Eddie Van Halen, of course.
Yeah.
Just the noises, obviously. I'm not going to say anything nobody hasn't said before, but the noises he could put out with the guitar, I think, really influenced me. I love like all the harmonics and like just the strangeness that you can bring into it. I kind of try to do that with some of the stuff that we do. I guess I like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, those are three that come to mind, but there's all kinds of different guys over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And when you start, making your songs, how is it like your process, your personal process? Is like, for example, you start from a riff and then you build up the song, or maybe you have just the main idea and then you work together, or how does it work usually for you guys?
So usually it's kind of like, hey, I've got this riff, and then we kind of build it from there. But a lot of the time, which with the new stuff that we've been working on, especially, I do like a lot of it's been pretty organic. Excuse me,
Yeah.
thus far. Um, I don't know. It's so somebody will have a riff, we'll work with it, but then a lot of it is just kind of on the cuff, and we'll jam with stuff and be like, oh, this works, or oh, that was really cool, or somebody will be like, oh, I got an idea, It's usually me and Neil, but everybody has contributions during that, and I don't know, it's pretty cool. We just kind of build off of it, but yeah, me and Neil have worked together for a while now, and especially with this, we're kind of in tune. So there's a certain chemistry that we're always able to come up with something. It seems like even if we hit a wall eventually with songwriting, which happens a lot because we try to be very like meticulous about the little things, especially because this stuff at its core is pretty simple. Not to downplay it, but it is. It doesn't always have to be crazy, but the little things are what make the whole. When you pay attention to those, they build and build, and eventually you have something cohesive from something simple.
Yeah.
So, um,
And I would like to ask also for transcendent and invading on dimension, which is the concept behind?
so yeah, the concept we kind of played into it. It's almost like we worked from it backwards.
Yeah.
Because the idea was that it was, going to be front to back, like song wise. I mean backwards, from music to concept compared to one way or the other. Because it was like the title was the last thing we came up with, you know. But it kind of played into the idea a little bit because we had this idea, um, initially when he was kind of putting this together that he wanted to do it, start and ends with that intro basically. So you got the full intro, and then it plays through, and then it goes back. So it's like a full cohesive thing when you listen to it. And I don't know, we just kind of got this vibe that when we were writing the lyrics and stuff for the first time, we could do something kind of esoteric. We don't want to necessarily do the gore thing. We've always been big on that. Not that we don't have some imagery in some of our music that might not allude to or might allude to body horror or something like that. We try to stay away from that, and so I don't know. It just seemed like an esoteric thing would be best to kind of wrap it up well. And I don't know. I just kind of we just kind of clung to it, I guess. I wish there was a bigger picture there, but yeah, we were influenced from the lyrics, so it might make it seem like it's more grandiose than it is, but everything that happened in those songs conceptually was, natural, and
Yeah.
we just kind of went with it. So
Yeah. So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you just released, right, this album. Am I wrong?
well, I guess it was released at the beginning of 2024.
Oh,
So
okay.
it feels like we did, but it's been some time now, I guess. I the years have escaped me.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And how did you decide about the design and the stuff? I mean, you already introduced a little bit of this, but like the physical format or compared to the digital one, how did it work, and what you wanted to choose compared to how did you decide the artwork, who did the artwork or stuff? How did it work?
So the artwork was was given to us by Lexi Latinen. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know anything about Finnish. I apologize, Lexi. Um, but it was given to us, and it was an original piece that he worked on in the '90s. I think it was from
Oh, okay.
1991 or 1992. So that's original. It was originally intended to be used for a band called Cartilage, um, and I guess they broke up not long after that. And there's a couple test prints of those shirts, and there's ceased to exist after that. Um, Great band though. Love their early work. Like there's so many Finnish bands like that. They just have like a here and there, then they're gone forever. But that connection was cool. And basically Neil had gotten in touch with him kind of earlier on into the whole Purulency thing. He wanted to get art from him because he's done so many cool works anyways. He thought he'd be a good one to hit up. He did the Incantation demo. He did Shadows of the Past. I mean, he's a living legend of sorts. And he kind of let him hear some of the demos, and Lexi more or less attached himself to it and was like, "Here, just take this. I don't really do art anymore. You can have this." And we're like, "Oh, okay." And he gave him a bunch of other stuff. He actually did his first commission work for him, like I think in 2021, for like the first time in like 30 years, 20 years, something. So it had been a long time. But it was really cool for him to give us that. So we were kind of working with that before there's really even these finished songs, which we put the finished touches on with everything, lyrics, concepts, whatever. In 2022, 2023,
Yeah.
we had that. So we knew what we were kind of working with there. So then we record it later on, years later, and it's kind of strange because we were like, well, we could probably get a tape release for this, just don't want to say that we weren't confident about it or anything, but we kind of didn't really expect it at first to get the buzz that it got. We knew it had potential, and we were like, oh yeah, this is going to be the one. But you know, it kind of popped off. So I basically was just emailing everybody. I was like, hey, you wanna release this on cassette? And everybody started getting back to me, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, it was like we can't do them all.
That's
So
amazing.
I hit up Pulverized Records from Singapore, and I'd seen a bunch of bands that had been from their label, over the years. And Neil was like, "Yeah, that'd be a good one. Let's do that. Just email him." All right, So I emailed him, and Roy is his name. He's a great guy. I was like, "Hey, you want to do cassette?" And he's like, "Well, we don't really do cassettes, but how's CD and vinyl sound?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah." Um, yeah, that sounds great. And we had initially released it on tape like a month before that with Caligari Records. So we were already stoked about that. And he gets back with me, and I'm like, "Well, this is perfect, because we can do that and then delay it, and then we can put it on CD and vinyl."
Sure.
And so he pushed it out, and he sent us all of the stuff, and that's kind of how that came to be. It's really just with this band, it's like a string of happy accidents to some extent. Like, we'd be as calculated as we could be, but then stuff like that just happened. I mean, you know.
Yeah, yes.
And I wanted to ask, in your opinion, do digital platforms help metal bands build more personal connection with listeners versus physical releases?
Um, I think it can. I guess it depends on maybe your music. I think for us, I think there's something to be said about having the release in your hands and having something to collect and
Yeah.
respond to. And partly because, we pay attention to those things, and we value those things.
Yeah.
So, we put a lot of thought as much as we can into something like that. What would we appreciate about having a record in our hands or being able to, just see that everything is formatted in a way that's, palatable to how a grimy death metal band should be. Going back to like things that I was talking about before, like me and Neil kind of bonding over almost like our nitpickiness of of stuff that we don't like, which is like strange because it's a lot of it's not even I hate breakdowns, I hate deathcore, and we don't want to do that thing in our music, obviously, but it was more than that. It was like, why are bands using like Comic Sans in their linear notes, like stuff like that. Just trying to be as professional as possible. But I think that there is a certain sort of intimacy that you get from streaming, I guess, that's maybe in a different context, like having that ability to like listen to songs at the gym, for example,
Yeah.
is going to be a different context of listening than sitting down and playing a record or something like that. I think.
Yeah, completely. I mean, maybe a little bit of kind of connected to this could be the fact that we have different feeling of when you are on stage, like live, and then you have a totally different situation when you're in the studio. Like,
Yeah.
what do you enjoy of the two situation? What is your feeling about that? So, like, I don't like it all to stay in the studio, or maybe I love it, but something like that.
Yeah. So, playing live is. I definitely love it. It's kind of just the endorphins kind of kick in and the muscle memory takes over. So
Yes.
playing live is you have these like passing thoughts that you don't even really like contemplate until you're done. It's very strange. It's not like there's nothing going on up there. But for me, it's like I get off and then I assess the situation. I'm like, okay, people responded to this, or this part went over really well. This order thing, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, the studio is kind of a different animal too, I guess. The studio, see, that's I feel like live is where you reap a lot of the rewards of how of why you do it.
Yeah.
That's where you get the gratification and be like, okay, we're doing something right. The studio, it's fun in its own way, but that's the part that besides like the back end of stuff, the boring stuff, like all the spreadsheets and stuff. The studio feels like work. you know, that's that's kind of it's fun seeing ideas come together. It's not that there's a lack of creativity to it, but it definitely feels like you're kind of working compared because it's very meticulous. It's very drawn out. Sometimes
Yeah.
you gotta repeat a lot of stuff or sit there and listen to somebody repeat a lot of stuff. You know, I mean,
Yes.
it's just it's like, yeah, this is it. But it's the ebb and flow. The
Yeah.
Tao of being a musician, I guess. Half of it's fucking boring as shit, and then the other half is fun. So you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think I completely agree. I mean, I don't know if you feel the same, but I mean, when you are on the stage, then I don't know. I kind of feel like I wish I had more songs to play. Like it was so fast. I mean, I really, because when you're in the studio, when you do it at home or whatever, and then it's like, okay, you have one song and you repeat it, and as you say, maybe it's even boring sometimes, right? But then you have like spent half an hour or 1 hour on one song, and then when you're on the stage, it's like, okay, it's done. Like, oh my God, like I didn't
Yeah,
even maybe enjoy that so much as I wanted, right? So I mean, it's like just as you say the adrenaline of that. So it's yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
And
say a funny thing about that idea. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no,
It's actually there's another feeling too that you wouldn't expect, but sometimes, when you're really into it, you're just tired. I guess you get towards the end of the set. Like when we played Killtown Death Fest
yeah,
this past fall, we had kind of a shorter set list compared to some of the other ones, just because we don't have that many songs. um, we, we played through the whole EP, and then we had a cover, and then we had a new song which wasn't on the EP, and they asked for an encore, and we were like, "Oh shit!" Yeah. So we were like, "All right, hope everybody remembers Caught in a Vortex." Um, so we played Caught in a Vortex by Abhorrence, but yeah, when you're not prepared for it, sometimes there is that like that oh shit moment of like, oh
Like, okay, let's play Sweet Home Alabama.
yeah, we're like we didn't really prepare for this.
yeah.
It always works out. It always works out. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, yeah. I
And
like this.
do you have any for the future for sure? Any geographic area that you would like to play in the
Mm.
future?
um, well, definitely more of Europe for sure. Um, we got our taste of that, and just from what we've played there this past fall, the crowds are definitely a different type of beast compared to a lot of what we're used to in the United States. Not that we've not had some great crowds in the U.S., but there's something about the European crowd and their etiquette, I guess, is just more palatable to me. Like the things you don't always see, like the etiquette of like stage diving, for example,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or people getting just like getting on stage and headbanging a little bit and
Yeah.
popping off. It might be a little strange, but like that's not a common thing in the United States. And it almost freaked me out at first because I'd heard about it, but I kind of forgot. And so we're playing, and a bigger festival, bigger stage, and this guy gets on stage. And I'm like, my first instinct, just I guess it's just an American, of like, is this guy gonna kill me or stab me or something? And he just gets he's doing his thing. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I had to play it off. Didn't want to lose any like aura points. But yeah, because he's right beside me, so that freaked me out. Um, but I love that kind of thing. There's a certain intimacy with the crowd, that I really
Yeah.
enjoy about the European audience. And from what I gather, it's same in South America.
Yeah.
Um, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Really, as long as we're accepted and it's safe, I don't really think there's anywhere that we wouldn't consider playing. Um, there's definitely places in the United States that I would love to play, and where it's so big that we've not even got the chance to scratch the surface. Like I would love to play on the West Coast. I think there's a lot of a market there for our style, and there's a lot of like-minded bands. I think that we fit very well with. Like I'd love to play one day, like Mortiferum. They're from the Pacific Northwest. That would be an awesome show.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, or even I guess we did play with Caustic Wounds. Technically, I don't think it was the same day, but they played Killtown. We did, so we've more or less kind of crossed
Yeah.
paths in some way. But um, yeah, and Japan, of course, Asakusa Death Fest would be
Sure.
would be awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. 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 I kind of feel like what you say, especially because I mean we are here in Copenhagen, and so being in Scandinavia, the land of the Vikings. So basically, I am very, very shorter than the average. So every time also I'm at a concert, I'm surrounded by columns, and I'm a little bit,
yeah,
it's a little bit difficult for me in general. So I can imagine that it can appear also a little bit different for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
So do you have any
Yeah,
plans for the?
yeah. Any plans for the future? Any also collaboration or
Yeah.
things that you have in mind, or even personally? I mean, if you want to share anything you like, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess for this year going forward with the band, um, the plan right now, I guess, is we're working on a release to put out, hopefully by the end of this year, fingers crossed, depending on how everything shakes out. But we're looking to do a promo at the moment. Um, as of now, it'll be 2 songs. But in the meantime, we should have a single out.
Oh, that's great.
Hopefully, in the springtime. I would I would say it's actually it's mixed, it's mastered. Um, I won't spoil what it is, but you just have to see. We've kind of got some plans potentially for putting it out. Um, we're hoping they come to fruition, but we'll see how it goes. It might end up being a split. Um, but
Oh,
yeah, we're kind of working with that right now. It's exciting.
Yeah.
I wish I could just
yeah.
blabber about it, but
Well,
nothing's
I
set in
mean,
stone yet. We're
please, all the best
potent-
wishes for your plans then. I'm wishing you all the best.
Yeah.
yeah.
I also wanted to make one last question, which is a little bit funny. I mean, it's just that I asked maybe to everyone, so I will ask. Um, so, if Purulency was a film, a movie,
Mhm.
what would be like? Would be, I mean, it can be a film that you've seen. You can talk about the director you would like to choose, or the actor you wanted to play, or something like that. What do you?
Okay.
What? Yeah, the genre. Whatever it comes up to your mind.
Hmm. Okay. That's a good question. I feel like it. It's kind of it, it's kind of a catchy one. Okay. Because here's my thing. So we're really influenced by the cosmic horror aspect of things, not necessarily like Lovecraft, but just a broader sense of like cosmicism. And I mentioned the body horror thing, a little bit of that. But the catch is, I feel like cosmic horror is one of those genres that doesn't always adapt to films well.
Mhm.
So I would almost think that if there was a movie that could be in the vein of the band, maybe it hasn't been done, or maybe it would have to be directed by someone that could actually do something like that with an unlimited budget, somebody that could do something like that well, like David Lynch, like if
Yeah,
David
yeah,
Lynch directed the Purulency movie with like the aesthetics of like, you know,
yeah, yeah.
Alien or something, if he had the budget like he had in Dune, but could write about our songs, I don't know, maybe that'd be cool.
Nice, nice. I mean, yeah, this is an advertisement.
Yeah,
Whoever
yeah.
you want to,
Right.
know.
Yeah, yeah, make the movie.
Contact, like.
Yeah, call Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will tag him, like.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, we loved you, Place Beyond the Pines, man.
Amazing.
So I think that's all.
Yeah, yes. So, I mean, I think that it was amazing, really. Thanks a lot for joining us for today.